Hello and welcome to the show that debates burning issues of the day. This is The Big Picture and I'm ATHAR Khan. Team Anna is back in the news, and this time around, the opposition that gave Team Anna political cover seems to be running for cover as well. Returning to Delhi's Jantar Mantar on Sunday, Anna Hazare and his team launched a scathing attack on politicians of all hues. In a sweeping statement, the activists called for 1,300 elected representatives, MPs and MLAs to be booked for corruption and demanded that FIRs be launched against them, levelling corruption charges against 14 cabinet ministers as well. A member of Anna Hazare's team admitted that he had no direct evidence of wrongdoing, but the charges should be investigated nonetheless. The fallout of those remarks was uproar in Parliament, with MPs united in their condemnation of the statement, with the leader of the opposition, Sushma Swaraj, taking the lead in attacking the activists. In what could prove to be the last straw in deteriorating relations between civil society and the activist brigade and the politicians, the sweeping generalization by civil society activists, especially those working with Anna Hazare, has angered not only just parliamentarians but the political class as a whole. Tonight on The Big Picture, we discuss whether civil society is crossing the line by insulting and denigrating institutions like Parliament by making loaded, unproven accusations. We will also debate whether activists like Anna Hazare and his team have any right to judge elected representatives of the people. Have they crossed the line, and have they, more importantly, lost their way? What started as an anti-graft movement, has it now become yet another lunatic fringe? And to discuss this, joining me in the studio is Mridula Mukherjee from JNU. Also joining me on the program will be Vinod Sharma, political editor of Hindustan Times, as well as Tapan Sen from the CPI. Tarun Vijay will also join us. He is a Rajya Sabha member from the BJP, and later on the show we'll also be joined by Asauddin Owaisi of the MIM in Hyderabad. But I'd like to start the show with Mridula, if I could. Mridula, is Team Anna, okay, forget Team Anna, is civil society constantly shifting goalposts now according to their convenience? Does it look like that?
Well, there is no one civil society, so I think it'd be better if we confine ourselves to the specifics of this case. Civil society, firstly, is a very broad term, and it's used now very loosely. So as far as this particular movement is concerned, I think there is no doubt that they seem to have somewhere lost their bearings. My own feeling is that, you know, those figures of 1 lakh or thereabouts, which they didn't probably actually get, but which were bandied about in the Ramlila ground thing, some have gone to their head. They're not now satisfied with smaller numbers. The Bombay fiasco has worried them. And therefore, this kind of almost compulsion to do rabble-rousing. You know, so many 100 politicians are corrupt, we want to. It's not only irresponsible, it's silly.
Right.
It's so silly. You don't expect people, you know, Arvind Kejriwal has had a very good record, you know, in terms of the contribution he's made to the right to information movement. Kiran Bedi herself. I mean, these are people who have gone through the grind. And I'm really surprised that they are indulging in this kind of desperate
Let me ask Vinod Sharma, if I could. Vinod Sharma, Mridula says this has come down to sort of rabble-rousing. Do you agree with that? Has Team Anna, especially among the civil society, lost their way? Vinod Sharma.
Well, I don't know whether they have lost their way, but surely they have lost the decency of language that is expected of people who pride themselves as calling the civil society or representatives of the civil society. I remember once Sitaram Yechury, the CPM, had said that I too am in civil society, and I think he was perfectly right. The civil society, I think, and I'm afraid this is not the right thing to do, they are trying to show themselves as civil society, and they perhaps are meaning that the political class in this country is not part of the civil society. I think the political class in this country is integral to the civil society. And whenever there has been any challenge to democracy, whenever there has been any autocratic tendency on behalf of the government of the day, it is the opposition that has risen in revolt, that has resisted such attempts, you know. And when I say opposition, it is not just about the opposition of the time, because, you know, destinies change, and the ruling party of today could be tomorrow's opposition. So to sort of brand the entire political class as corrupt and as distrustful, I think it's not acceptable.
Absolutely.
And it reeks of perhaps a desire on the part of the civil society that this Lokpal bill should not be passed by Parliament.
Right.
They seem to have developed a vested interest in ensuring a logjam, a parliamentary logjam over the legislations in the pipeline.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
they can continue their movement and they can prove finally that the politicians are not interested in passing these legislations.
Right, right.
Maybe
Mr. Sharma,
right
let me go to Tapanda for a bit.
Over 60 years, they haven't done much. But now I think the Parliament is serious.
Right. Mr. Sharma, let me go to Tapanda for a bit. Tapanda, would you agree that the language used by especially Arvind Kejriwal denigrating Parliament, is that the way to go about it? Team Anna, like Mridula said, had enjoyed at one point of time huge mass support around the country. Do you think they can keep that up with this kind of language?
Actually, language... whatever language one uses, it reflects its culture. Number one. Secondly, it also reflects a level of frustration also for the purpose they are pursuing. Sometimes if that doesn't meet the reality, sometimes it reflects, language also reflects frustration to that also. But the reality is that if somebody wants or don't want, the matter is already in the agenda of Indian political system, and the matter is being pursued. The matter is being handled, the matter is being interacted with, and I think that's the best way of finding a best possible avenue at a particular given time, a solution to a particular problem. The Lokpal bill is being exercised, is being interacted upon in the parliamentary system, and that's the only area, that is the only place where that bill can find the status of a legislation.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
have a binding character.
Absolutely.
So I don't think there is any other route. It is useless in talking people, in telling like that and qualifying and self-qualifying. I think it is useless.
Right. Mridula, coming to you, Tapanda mentioned whatever little support they had from the opposition, the political class. Isn't Team Anna especially shooting themselves in the foot by alienating whatever little support they have, pockets of support they had? The BJP members we saw came and went to their rallies, even the JDU members. The same JDU members today, Sharad Yadav going hammer and tongs against Team Anna. Aren't they alienating whatever little support they had in the political class? Isn't that the wrong strategy for them?
It's the wrong strategy if their objective is actually to get the Lokpal through. But I think the question which is being raised very legitimately by Vinod Sharma is that it seems they don't want it. They want a logjam. So I think we have to ask a more fundamental question. What is really their objective? To me, it seems more and more that perhaps the hidden agenda, which appears to be much more, I'm sorry to say, but populist verging on fascist seems to be emerging. You know, fascist is when you are trying to arouse popular passions, but not work through institutions.
Right.
That is what is fascist.
Right.
And by denigrating and delegitimizing the institutions, there is room for critique, there is room for criticism, there is room for even saying there should be fundamental changes, but they are not making any fundamental structural suggestions about what is wrong with the parliament, what is wrong with Indian democracy.
Right.
As I said, rabble-rousing, this is just fascist.
Absolutely.
So what is the agenda? I think the agenda is to denigrate and delegitimize and therefore we have to start asking, whose agenda is this?
Right.
Who's behind this? Who in India doesn't want democracy? I think that very fundamental question has to be asked.
It's a very pertinent question you raise, Mridula Mukherjee. Vinod Sharma, Mridula Mukherjee says the real question now is whose agenda are they enforcing? Any thoughts on that?
Well, you see, I can just guess and speculate. You know, Chomsky once said that, the tendency of the capital is to get decisions taken outside the sphere of institutions linked to people. And all through this Anna Hazare movement, the tendency has been to supersede the existing institutions by the creation of a new one. They have chosen to use the street to question the judiciary. They have questioned the parliament, and they have questioned the executive day in and day out. Now the moot point here is that if they want decisions taken outside the sphere of these institutions, then are they serving capital? And what kind of capital? What is the agenda of that capital, that big business?
Right.
Because we know that this movement is not being run on charity alone. This movement, they on their own websites, they have gone ahead and said that they have taken donations from big business. And I'm not saying that all big business is bad, but surely people are giving them money, and big business is not always altruistic. It is always believing in give and take. So, having said this, I still would like to believe that they are serious about an anti-corruption mechanism in this country that is both robust and credible and achievable, if I may say so.
Right.
But then for them to dictate terms to the parliament that I elect after every 5 years is not acceptable to me as a voter. And may I remind them that I am, as a voter, the sovereign in the kind of system that I have,
absolutely,
that we have in this country.
Right, right,
So,
Mr. Sharma, right.
Team Anna should desist from this kind of lumpenization in terms of the language used of their movement,
right,
because
right.
that will prove to be self-defeating in the longer run.
Right, Mr. Sharma.
A big letdown for
right.
the people of this country.
Right, Mr. Sharma. We'll take a short break right now. We'll return with our guests. Lots more to discuss. We'll also discuss whether or not they have the right to actually criticize Parliament and parliamentarians. That's after the break. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Picture. I've been told Asaduddin Owaisi from the MIM is also joining us. If I could ask you this, welcome to the program, first of all, sir, and ask you this. We'll be talking about how Team Anna, especially in civil society, are they crossing a line by calling parliamentarians and denigrating the parliament? Let's explore the other side. I want to ask you this. Arvind Kejriwal says that MPs don't show the kind of outrage when bills are torn up in parliament and they don't respect the house themselves. But does that, even if that's true, does that give civil society, especially people like Anna Hazare and his team, the right to call lawmakers all sorts of names? What's your thought on that?
See, unfortunately, the political and the ruling class has to be blamed for making Team Anna Hazare very relevant. But for the government not calling them and having 7-10 rounds of meeting with them, that was the first and biggest mistake that was done, wherein we had given them unnecessary and undue importance was given to them. If that was not given to them, then the things would have not arrived to such a stage. But coming back to your question of these people making wild and baseless allegations, one has the right to criticize, if you have freedom of expression. But there is a line and limit wherein you cannot make personal character assassinations, which these people have indulged in. And this clearly shows that Team Anna is very frustrated, and they know for a fact that the initial euphoria that was there for them is not there anymore. And that is why they have stooped down to such a level of making wild and baseless allegations against the Institute of Parliament.
Right, Mr. Owaisi.
If you have any evidence against...
Right. That's the same sentiment echoed by some other panelists here. We'll come back to you. Stay with us. Coming to Tapan, saying, Tapan, let me ask you this. Let me play devil's advocate one more time on this show. There is a sense among general public as well that even the politicians don't respect the parliament. Our political parties give tickets to history cheaters, to convicted criminals. Now, if politicians don't respect parliament, how can we expect someone like Anna Hazare or his team to respect parliament? Is there any weight in that argument?
You see, the thing is that no system is perfect. But the history creates the institution. After the India got independence, it was the wisdom of the then those who fought the freedom struggle, to put the Constituent Assembly in place, write a constitution, develop a structure of the parliamentary democracy, and so many institutions was born. But it doesn't mean that from the day they are put in place, they remain perfect. The perfection is a thing which is to be earned through practice in a process, and also the consciousness of the level of the people. It is a fact that many history cheaters are given ticket. It is a fact that big industrialists are now taking special interest in finding their place in parliament, and that is basically evolves a clear conflict of interest. But the fact also is there that in our pluralistic society, where the democracy, different number of political parties, the number is increasing. In that process, this is a process which we just cannot avoid. We have to pass through, and along with the consciousness of and people also will become wise and wiser seeing through this. And gradually in this process, a system moves towards perfection. So you see, just by a good intention of somebody, no system becomes perfect.
Right.
Perfection itself is a process of struggle, and everybody has got its own responsibility to do it. So I don't deny that parliamentarians also have some responsibility played sometimes denigrating the whole parliamentary system itself. But again, they are not the whole lot. There are people who are fighting against that trend and trying to do something for which they feel themselves accountable.
Right, Tapanda,
so
fair point. Fair point,
so
Tapanda. Let me come to Mridula Mukherjee very quickly. Tapanda, thank you very much for that point. Mridula, Team Anna is now threatening a nationwide agitation starting August now. We know that Team Anna, the support they got, you've echoed that sentiment. They really don't have the kind of support they enjoyed, say in November, October last year. The Bombay incident is well documented. Also, they've now alienated whatever little political support that they had. Is it a case of Team Anna losing its way or exposing a major chink in their armor? Which one is it? Have they lost their way, or by saying all this, have they shot themselves in the foot, like I said before?
I think both. As I said, that there is a lack of direction now. And you know, what I want to really say is that a genuine civil society movement, why is it that it earns respect of people? Precisely because people feel that it is not caught in the arguments that otherwise politicians and political parties may be engaged in, because they have other constituencies. What you expect from a civil society movement, like for example the right to information movement, is it has clear and specific objectives for which it works in a constructive way.
Let me interrupt you there for one second. I've been told that Tarun Vijay has just joined us. I'll come back to that point, Mridula. We'll continue discussing it. Welcome to the show, Tarun. Your first thoughts on Anna Hazare and the kind of language that civil society, especially the Anna team, has been using. Your leader, Sushma Swaraj, in Parliament came out and attacked them, was in the front line of attacking them. What are your thoughts on the language they've used? Are these allegations just baseless? Has Team Anna lost their way?
See, neither Team Anna represents us, nor we are their colleagues, nor they are our leaders. But they represent a frustration of the people on the street. And they have been assaulted and denigrated like anything by the ruling elite. Everything possible was done against them to let them down, to insult them, to paint them black, and all sort of vile allegations were leveled against them. This is also one part which shows the true colors of the ruling party and UPA. The way they did enacted a drama on the 29th December in the midnight in Rajya Sabha also shows up that how serious are these people who are so-called the destiny makers of the plus billion people of the country. So there is anger and frustration in the common people. And if they come out on the street, where will they go? Will they go on the Mars and Jupiter to express their anger?
But Mr. Vijay, the question here, Mr. Vijay, Tarun Vijay, the question here is not whether or not they're expressing the feelings of the people. The question is, should they be allowed to denigrate institutions like Parliament? Have they crossed a line there?
Of late, I am seeing that the frustration is being expressed in some language which can be termed as not a good language for a social reformist movement, or for a movement which says that it's taking inspiration from Gandhian thoughts. So they must be very placid. They must take some cue from Mahatma Gandhi if they believe in him, and it's not possible to say that all parliamentarians are bad.
Right. Mr. Vijay, stay with us. We'll come back to that point. Coming to you, we're talking about some point. Please make a point. Then I'll go to Vinod Sharma quickly.
No, I was saying that what one expects when you talk about civil society and political society, one of the reasons we've been talking about that civil society in India has provided a certain dynamism for change. Certain kinds of initiatives have come from there and impacted the political society. The, for example, Right to Information Act. It emerges from outside the political system in a sense, but then engages with it in a constructive manner and achieves its end. It doesn't mean it didn't criticize while it was going on. Here what you are seeing is a different pattern. The objective is to denigrate, the objective is to delegitimize, rather than achieve the objective of the Lokpal bill or the other anti-corruption measures, which presumably was the objective. So the real objectives of the movement are coming out now.
Right,
that is where, and
right.
I would just like to say that, you know, Mr. Tarun Vijay is bringing in the love for Gandhi. Can we just leave poor Mahatma Gandhi out of this? I mean, let's not, you know, allow this kind of distortion to take place.
Absolutely.
This kind of nonsensical
Absolutely.
stuff. I mean, you know,
let's leave the Mahatma out of this.
Let's leave the Mahatma out of it at least.
Let me go to Vinod Sharma really quickly. Vinod Sharma, Mridula Mukherjee is saying that the Mahatma should be left out of this. Obviously, we agree with that. But these allegations, so-called allegations, Vinod Sharma, that Anna and his team are levelling against so many members of parliament, wouldn't it be a good idea if they have any concrete proof, come out with that concrete proof? Wouldn't that give their allegations some sort of legitimacy? Why can't they do that?
You know, may I tell you one thing, you see, they have not made a great disclosure. The Indian media is aware of it, and the first person from a responsible position to flag this fact of 160 odd members of parliament having cases against them was the then Speaker of Lok Sabha, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee. So the system itself is aware of it. Secondly, I may to some extent go with Tarun to say that the government committed mistakes, that the way they engaged with them and then the way they sought to disengage with them was perhaps not properly done, and that has cost them dear in terms of their own image. But may I also at the same time say that in phase 1 of the Team Anna movement, we saw them intimidating the systems in place.
Right.
The institutions in place.
Right.
And in phase 2 of their movement, we are witnessing their attempts to humiliate these institutions. Now, I think this is not acceptable.
Right.
Because for some responsible member of Team Anna to get on the stage and say that cases be registered against all those, including union ministers, against whom there have been media reports of graft, corruption or other kinds of allegations.
Absolutely.
May I remind them that similar reports have been published against some of their own key members.
Absolutely.
Would
Fair
they
point.
want similarly FIRs registered against them?
Fair point.
I think
Fair point.
This is just not acceptable.
Fair point, Mr.
This
Sharma.
is not the way a civilized
Fair point.
society operates.
Let me quickly
This
go
is
to
not
Mr.
the way
Owaisi, who is also standing by. Mr. Owaisi, last thoughts on this denigration of parliament, if you can call it. What is going through Team Anna's mind, especially Mr. Kejriwal, who seems to be quite on the offensive against not just the government but the whole of Parliament? What would you say to him if you were talking to him right now? Your piece of advice for Mr. Kejriwal and Team Anna?
You know, I am reminded of this old song lyric. That is, koi patthar se na mare mere deewane ko. So these people are mad people. Let them shout. They don't know how Parliament functions, what work we are doing. And I am pretty much sure that Team Anna has decided to take a plunge in electoral politics, because by casting aspersions across party lines on all parliamentarians, they definitely have this idea of, I think so, plunging in politics. We welcome it. Let Kiran Bedi contest from Chandni Chowk, let Arvind Kejriwal or Anna Hazare contest against me or anyone.
Right.
Let them come and see. I know if they feel that everyone is bad, they should enter and change
right,
it.
Sir. Right,
you
sir.
know, it is very easy to sit beside, sit at the corner of a sea and see, oh, the sea is bad. Come on, jump into the sea and change it if you have the
right, sir. Fair point. We will go quickly across to Tarun Vijay, sir. Very last 20 seconds that we have for you. Your take on how Team Anna has handled the whole situation. Should they be doing what they are doing right now? Very quickly, sir.
I don't know, I have said so many things before, but how much for broadcast or not, but I must say that
we were listening to you, sir.
Frustrations and the anger of the people should come out. They should not be denigrated. There are people who are not so good people, but electoral politics dynamics is very, very different and very different from what the civil society understands.
Right.
They must mend their language. They must be not only just civil society, they must use civil language, and everyone should get along. There is a common cause. The common cause is that the governance should be transparent.
Right.
There should not be any corruption, and every party, every single party is a part of it.
Right, Tarun.
To say that they are bad people and we are like angels from Mars or Jupiter.
Right, Tarun. Point taken, Tarun. That's all the time we have right now, Tarun. Thank you so much to all my guests. I must thank Mridula Mukherjee, who came to the studio at short notice, Vinod Sharma, Asaduddin Owaisi, Tapan Sen, as well as Tarun Vijay for joining us on The Big Picture tonight. That's all we have for you tonight. Really, what came out of the show today was that even though they are on an anti-graft platform, that gives them no right to accuse the whole of Parliament and calling MPs names, all sorts of names. That is something that should be wary of. That's all the time we have for you on The Big Picture tonight. Till next time, thank you and goodbye.